What's going on, guys? HalfClickUp here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my FZ6R mods and maintenance tutorial series. In today's tutorial we are going to be replacing our factory 66,000 mile clutch with a clutch kit from Barnett Performance. Now, as always, we'll be following our Yamaha factory service manual for this procedure. Real quick, let's discuss the items that you'll need to purchase new for replacement. You have the clutch cover gasket. You have the O-ring for push rod number 2, and you want to replace the clutch boss nut because you stake that with a punch, and so they're single use. Now, back to the first page here with the first blowout diagram. You see it calls for a new dipstick O-ring. I've replaced that in the past, as well as a oil fill cap O-ring. I've replaced that in the past as well. So we are working with the clutch cover gasket. That's your part number. We're working with push rod number 2 O-ring. There's your part number. And we're working with the replacement clutch boss nut. There's your part number there. And real quick, your Barnett clutch kit for the FZ6R. That's your part number there. The only specialty tool required for this job is a clutch basket holder. I opted for the EBC brakes tool, part number CT008. I like this one better than the Motion Pro style because it's actually a reproduction of the friction plate, right? Versus the clamp-on style of the Motion Pro style. Tusk Racing also makes a clamp-on style, but I think this will result in a better physical purchase onto the clutch basket. Now, obviously, the first step is removal of the clutch cover. Always pay attention to your tips. You see here it mentions to use a crisscross pattern, just like a wheel. You're going to do the same thing when you get to the pressure plate, removing the compression spring bolts. Crisscross pattern slowly so that it releases pressure evenly. Alright, we'll start by removing the dipstick. And then we'll remove this bolt here that actually holds the coolant hoses in place. Get that one out of the way. All of these hex bolts are number 5 millimeter. And work in your crisscross pattern. Now, it's always kind of surreal opening something up on this bike for the first time because, you know, 13 years, man. 13 years has been since this cover's been off. There she is, boys. Oh, looks like we lucked out with the gasket. She's gonna come off in mostly one piece. Or maybe she will come off in one piece. Yes. Awesome. That'll require minor cleanup. Outstanding. And now the pressure plate compression springs. Remember, our kit comes with new springs that we'll be replacing these with, and this is a 10 millimeter. Looks like all of our clutch packs want to come out too. Now it'll also be interesting to see just what kind of wear this pack has. You know, because we were experiencing some minor slip at high RPM. Nothing down low really, other than some general mushy feeling, right? So, I don't know. Looks pretty clean so far. And this first plate from this factory plate is supposed to be dark like this. And we'll take a closer look in a minute. And as I take these out, I'm keeping them in the same order, just for inspection purposes. And we'll look at them on the table here in a minute. Okay, so starting from the inside out. Little hot spot there. Not too bad. Hot spots there. And now this might not be terrible, you know. Hot spot there. The thing about it is though is that we do know we had high RPM slip here and there. Only happened a couple of times, but just enough to catch my attention to get ahead of that before it became a real problem. Hot spotting here. Now some of you guys watching this who have experience with clutch packs might be saying, well, that's not bad at all, that's minor hot spotting, and that may be, but again, I know the slipping I felt, and I'm not going to deal with that. Right there. That side looks all right. And when you feel these dark spots, these hot spots, they are slicker than the other material. And what I mean by that is like they're worn. You know what I mean? Like it's, you can feel more of a lip on all these friction pieces on these than you can where it's hot, where it's dark. So that's definitely wear. That's a good one. Wow. This one's dark. And again, might not be terrible. A couple of spots here. But, you know, it just makes you wonder what the source of the slipping was, and it could have been this guy. Could have been that other guy. Who knows? Oh yeah. Now this is the first one that sits half phase in the basket. Now the Barnett kit doesn't come with a specific one like this. They're all the same color. But yeah. Let's move on, shall we? Alright, the next step is to remove push rod 2. Now push rod 2 is just going to pull out, and you have to be careful because there's a ball bearing behind there. It looks like she is in there. We will try and get it out with a magnet. Worst case scenario, we use a pick, I guess. Look at that. Worked like a charm. Don't lose that. Don't lose that. Now remember, we have a replacement O-ring for right here. We'll pop that on here in a minute. And the next step is to get the clutch boss nut off of there. Now all of the washers I talked about earlier, my bad, they're behind this nut. So no washers have come out yet, just push rod 2. Right here is where the nut is staked. Got to get a flathead in there and unstake that, and then we'll be able to get the nut off. There, opened it right up. Alright, so we're going to employ our clutch basket holding tool. Now you can prop the handle up against the swing arm assembly, and what that'll do is it'll kind of create a lock of sorts to where, there, it's kind of just locked in place. See there? Right here. Now it is a 30mm socket for the clutch boss nut, and I am going to be employing a cheater bar. She's on there. Okay. All right, here she comes. Okay, now being mindful of the washers behind here, right? Now remember, we're replacing this nut. Mindful of your washers, keep them in order. It's just the easiest way to do it, right? So this guy, and then this guy, and we'll keep those just like that down here. And here comes the clutch basket. Housing remains in place. We're not even messing with that. So let's go take a look at the basket on the table. Oh, and also come to find out, the thrust washer is kind of stuck to the back of the basket, so don't lose that either. Alright, so let's recap what all we've done. Remove the clutch cover. We removed the springs and the pressure plate. We unstaked the clutch boss nut, removed it. We used our clutch holding tool and removed the clutch basket. There's our nut, the 2 washers you saw. There's the thrust washer that is behind the basket. Now we have to remove the wire clip. Now it tells you that this built-in damper between the clutch boss and the clutch plate, it's not necessary to remove the wire clip and disassemble the built-in damper unless there's serious clutch tethering. Now, I don't know that I really have clutch tethering, but the parts came in the Barnett kit, so we're going to use them, okay? So, underneath the wire clip is a little spring seat and a spring damper. It's these 2 guys right here. So, there's a final friction plate and a final steel that is sitting behind this wire clip. Oh, and by the way, I went ahead and changed out the O-ring on the push rod off camera. I figure if you guys made it this far, you probably know how to swap out an O-ring, right? Anyways, getting down to the nitty-gritty on this clutch basket. let's pay close attention as to how that wire clip is routed. Can you see that there's a channel that it sits in all the way around the basket, and then there's a hole right there where the clip comes into on both sides. Looking down in the center, you can see, let me get the, oh, there we go, get some daylight in there. You see how the wire clip goes inside and they kind of nest together right there in that hole. That's what we're gonna have to reproduce when we put these two plates back on. There we go. Just a little bit of pressure. And there she is. Almost under a lot of tension. Yeah, under a lot of tension. There we go. With the objective, of course, guys, being not to tear it up. There we go. Alright, so let's remove this steel plate. And then the final friction plate. Now this is the one with the bigger diameter. There's only one like this in the Barnett kit. All the rest of them are the same. And so the one with the bigger diameter is what's going to go directly onto the boss under the clip. Now, looking here, there's the spring seat and the spring. No sense in even taking that off. We'll just leave that on there. Okay, so here's the steel plates from the Barnett kit. And one thing that's worth mentioning, and I have no explanation for it, but this one guy, and it came in the box this way with it being on the end. This one guy is 1.6 millimeters. Let me show you this. See there? I don't know why, but it's like 1.6-ish. Now all the rest of them are right around 2. All of the factory ones are 2. So all of the factory steels are 2 millimeter, give or take. This one out of the Barnett kit is the only one that's 1.6. My assumption is that it goes behind the wire clip. I have test fitted this one off camera as well as the factory one, and indeed the 1.6 does allow a little tiny bit of extra clearance for that wire clip to run. I don't have an answer, so this is a situation where it's like beyond trial and error, right? This is guinea pig type stuff, guys. Maybe it'll result in chatter. Maybe you'd like to think Barnett knows exactly what they're doing by giving you one thinner one to go behind the clip. I don't know, and I guess we'll just have to find out. So at this point, it's neither here nor there. I do have the option to go back with the factory one, but there's got to be a reason why Barnett included one single 1.6. And so we're going to trust the guys at Barnett and go with the 1.6 behind the wire clip. Right, so for comparison's sake, here's the one that came off the clutch boss factory, and here is the Barnett piece. And the Barnett steel. And now the wire clip. There we go. Snaps right in there. Voila. That's it, guys. Now just closely examining what we're working with here. Verify that the wire clip is inside the channel all the way around, which it is. Alright, this clutch boss is ready to go back in. Now look guys, don't forget to clean your mating surface before you go back with everything. Right, we have the most room to maneuver and get this stuff out of here before reassembling everything. And so I'm just gonna go around here and get as much of this old material off as I can. And there's not very much on there, so it's really not that big of a deal, but I'm just going to do as best I can. Alright guys, and so installation is just the reverse of the way it came off. So thrust washer goes on first, followed by the clutch basket. There you go. Now remember, we kept our washers stacked correctly, so they just pop right back on there. Our new nut. Alright, we've got our clutch tool in place again, and the manual calls for 68 foot-pounds, which is a good bit. There it is. Golly. Alright, and so you can rotate the basket now to get your punch spot oriented up and down to kind of streamline the process of staking the lip there. Got your punch. Line her up. Give her some wax. It doesn't take much, guys. There it is. Alright, and so now we begin the installation of the clutch pack. So there's a friction and a steel behind the circlip, you know, that wire clip. So we start with a friction and you alternate. And now the last friction will install half phase. all by its lonesome. Just like that. Voila, clutch pack is in. Alright, so with the clutch pack installed, it's time to reinstall the pressure plate. I actually put the ball bearing back in there before I hit record. My bad. Don't forget your ball bearing, right? Ball bearing goes in there as far as you can stick it. And then push rod 2 pops in there. Now with the new O-ring, it's actually harder to push on, which is good. That's a good thing. There, pops in. Now, very important, when you go to install the pressure plate, you'll notice, and it's mentioned in the service manual, there is a punch mark on the plate, and there's a matching punch mark on the clutch basket. You want to line those up when you go to install this pressure plate back on here, like so. All right. Now, remember, we also have new springs. Just a quick comparison side by side. Here's the Barnett spring. Here's the factory spring. The Barnett spring is a little bit bigger of a coil, and it's also a little bit taller. So I guess that indicates to me that it's going to be a stiffer, maybe a more high performance kind of clutch pull, if that makes sense. So you simply pull your bolts out of your factory springs and start all these. Now remember, just like with everything else, you are going to evenly, in a crisscross pattern, like on a wheel, cinch all these down. Alright, so real quick, I'll zip these down and then we'll torque them to spec. Okay. Alright, so the service manual calls for 5.8 foot-pounds on each of these bolts, which is not a whole lot at all. I've got the inch-pound wrench out. It's a little 1/4 inch. Turns out that 5.8 foot-pounds is about 69.6 inch-pounds, so about 70 inch-pounds. And we're just going to cinch all these up. And it does not take much, guys. Boom. .8 foot-pounds is not much at all. Alright, they're all there. Ladies and gentlemen, the Barnett Performance clutch pack is installed. Now don't forget, we have a new clutch cover gasket. Use your dowel pins to hold it. And also don't forget that the service manual does call for Loctite on the clutch cover bolts. These are all 7.2 foot-pounds. Just kind of hold one in place there. And of course, as spec'd in the service manual, don't forget your Loctite. Well, that's it, guys. Test ride to come soon. But if you have any questions about installing a clutch kit, drop a comment down below. As always, guys, I'm here to answer questions. Again, any issues whatsoever, comment down below. Smash the like button if you enjoy this kind of technical content, and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you ride an FZ6R. Check out my other tutorials on my mods and tutorial playlist. And as always, guys, this has been me, and that's been you. It's Half Click Up. Catch you on the next one. Peace and goodbye.